Welcome to the deep dive.
Okay, so our listener has sent us a really interesting set of sources this time, focusing on a piece of gear that looks simple, maybe deceptively simple, but it's just historically essential. We're talking about the BA SS NS2 noise suppressor.
Right.
And look, if you're someone who uses any kind of high-gain setup, think, screaming laid tones, maybe heavy rhythm sounds, or just pushing a lot of distortion, you definitely know the problem.
Oh, yeah. The hiss.
That constant high-pitched hiss, maybe some hum that just hangs in the air the second you stop playing.
It's the enemy of silence, really, and it can just
Yeah.
muddy up your whole sound.
Exactly.
And that's precisely the problem. This little white box, the NS2, was built to tackle way back in, 1987?
Right, 87.
What's kind of amazing, though, is that now with all the digital tech, fancy modelers, super fast gates, the NS2 is still pretty much the industry standard.
It really is. You see it everywhere.
Yep.
So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out why. Why does this relatively old analog pedal, which basically just tries to quiet things down, why is it still seen as such a technical achievement? It's clearly doing more than just acting like an on-off switch for noise.
That's the hook, isn't it? High gain naturally creates noise. We get that. The NS2 offers a way to deal with it, but it's dynamic. So how does it do that? What makes its core tech different, really different from just a basic noise gate that, clamps down hard when the signal gets quiet?
Okay, yeah, that difference is key. That's where we really need to dig in. A traditional noise gate, the simple kind. It basically works off a fixed threshold level.
Right.
Your guitar signal drops below that level, wham, the gate shuts, mutes the output instantly. It works, it makes things silent, but
it can sound really unnatural, right? Guitarists call it choking. It cuts off the note's decay too soon.
precisely. You lose that natural ring out, that sustain. It's effective for silence, maybe, but not always great for the feel, the musicality.
Okay, so how did BSS get around that? How did they keep it musical while still killing the noise?
Well, they used a more sophisticated approach, architecturally speaking. Inside the NS2, there's an analog dual VCA design.
VCA, voltage-controlled amplifier.
Exactly. So instead of a simple switch just turning the signal off, these VCAs, they smoothly and dynamically adjust the amount of gain reduction. It's based on the level of the signal coming in. Think of it more like an attenuation circuit, not just a hard cutoff.
Ah, okay. So because it's using voltage to control the volume reduction, it can kind of fade the noise out instead of just chopping it.
You got it. That dynamic suppression lets it lower the noise floor smoothly without messing with the actual tone that's passing through at that moment. And this connects to a really crucial technical point from the sources. The detection circuit is separate from the audio path.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. The audio path is my guitar sound, right?
Right, the actual sound waves.
So the detection path is listening to something else. What's it listening to, and how does keeping them separate help my tone?
It's listening to the envelope of your guitar signal. Think of the envelope like a graph showing how your note's volume changes over time.
The attack, the sustain, the decay.
Exactly. How fast it starts, how long it holds, how quickly it fades. The detection circuit uses that envelope information to tell the VCA when to start reducing noise and how much reduction to apply.
Okay.
Because the actual audio signal isn't going through that detection part, the NS2 can effectively work around your note, reducing the noise floor without touching the tonal character of the note itself.
Ah, I see. It separates the listening part from the sound part.
That separation is fundamental to why the NS2 has this reputation for being transparent. It keeps the full frequency response intact while getting rid of the unwanted hiss and buzz.
So that's the intelligence people talk about. It listens smartly without messing up the sound. Okay, so the VCA handles the smooth silencing, but the way you use it needs to be smart too. And I guess that brings us to probably the most famous feature, the thing that really made the NS2 stand out, that unique send-return loop.
Oh, the loop. Yes. That was, and still is, a stroke of genius in terms of utility. We've established that the noise often comes from specific pedals, right? Your distortions, your fuzz boxes, maybe some noisy boosts.
Yeah, the gain stages.
If you just put a noise gate at the very beginning or very end of your chain, it's trying to clean up a signal that's already full of noise, often amplified noise. It's messy, less effective.
Because the noise is kind of baked into the signal by then.
Exactly. The send-return loop lets you basically quarantine the troublemakers. You physically isolate those noisy high-gain pedals inside the NS2's suppression circuit.
Okay, how does that work in practice?
The NS2 detects your clean guitar signal before it hits the noisy pedals. When you stop playing and that clean signal disappears, the NS2 then mutes the entire loop, cutting off the noise being generated by the distortion pedals inside it before that noise gets out to your amps.
So you're catching the noise right at the source within that loop. Genius. We see this setup everywhere now, but yeah, back in the late 80s, that must have been pretty revolutionary for a pedal.
Absolutely groundbreaking for a compact pedal.
So for someone setting up their board, what's the typical wiring for this?
It's pretty straightforward, but you got to get it right for it to work properly. Guitar goes into the main NS2 input jack.
Okay.
Then the signal goes out of the send jack through your chain of noisy pedals, distortion, overdrive, fuzz, whatever.
All the gain stuff.
Right. Then the output of the last noisy pedal goes back into the NS2's return jack.
Got it.
And finally, the now cleaned up signal goes out of the NS2's main output jack towards your modulation, delays, reverb, and then the amp.
So it creates this quiet little container just for the noise sources.
Perfectly put, a quiet container.
That makes total sense for killing that really specific hiss you get between notes, especially when you're playing tight, choppy riffs in like metal or heavy rock.
Yeah, give you that really tight percussive silence, but only if you dial in the controls right. Which brings us to the two main knobs you need to understand: threshold and decay.
Right, the threshold. That sets the level where the noise suppression actually starts working, yeah. What's the trick to setting that?
The trick is balancing it against your rig's overall noise floor and your playing dynamics. Set it too low, and it won't trigger soon enough. You'll still hear hiss leaking through when you stop playing.
Okay.
But set it too high, and the gate starts to think the tail end of your notes, as they decay naturally, is noise, and then it clamps down too early.
And you lose sustain. You get that choking effect we talked about.
Exactly. The very thing the VCA was designed to avoid. So you need to find that sweet spot where it kills the noise, but lets your notes ring out.
Makes sense. And then there's the decay knob. That controls how long the gate stays open after the signal drops below the threshold. This sounds important for tailoring the feel.
Oh, it's crucial. Absolutely crucial for matching the pedal to your playing style or even the specific genres. If you're playing really fast, staccato, palm-muted metal riffs, you want that silence to snap back instantly between notes.
For maximum tightness.
Right, so you'd set a fast decay. If you set it too slow for that style, you'll hear the hiss lingering in those tiny gaps. Sounds sloppy.
Okay, but what if I'm playing, say, a blues solo with long held notes and I want natural feedback?
Then you need the opposite. You want the gate to stay open longer, allowing the note to fade out smoothly and naturally, so you dial in a slow decay.
Gotcha. Fast decay for tight, slow decay for smooth.
That's the essence of it. That flexibility, it makes the NS2 more than just a utility. It's almost a subtle tone-shaping tool in how it manages silence. And we should also mention the mode switch.
Right, the little toggle. You've got reduction, which is the normal operating mode.
Yeah, where it's actively suppressing noise. The little LED even shows you when it's working.
And then there's mute.
Mute is just indispensable, honestly. Live situations, studio work. Hit that switch and it completely silences your entire output chain. Perfect for tuning up between songs, swapping guitars without pops, or just killing everything instantly if needed.
Super practical. And speaking of practical, we should probably mention the build quality. It's a BOSS pedal.
Meaning it's built like a tank, that classic rugged enclosure. You could probably drive a truck over it. And they added that handy DC out jack, too.
Yeah, the power pass-through lets you daisy chain power to another pedal or two. Seems small, but on a crowded pedal board, saving one power supply connection is actually a pretty big deal.
Oh, definitely. Simplifies your power setup, saves space, pure utility right there.
Okay, so let's circle back to the sound itself, the tonal profile. We established the VCA and separate detection path make it transparent. Why is preserving that full frequency response so important, thinking about both live playing and recording?
Well, noise is fundamentally the enemy of clarity, of fidelity. In a recording context, any extra hiss or hum gets magnified during mixing and mastering. It's a pain to deal with later.
Right.
The NS2's transparency means you're feeding the recording system a clean, uncompromised signal from the start. And live, it's about reliability. When you need silence, whether it's the mute function or just the space between notes, you get actual silence, not some weird gated hum or artifact.
Okay, so use cases. We talked about the classic setup, putting the noisy pedals in the loop to kill hiss between notes. What about other ways to use it, like putting it right at the front of the chain?
Yeah, you can definitely do that too. If you place it right after your guitar before anything else, its main job becomes reducing noise originating from the guitar itself, like single coil pickup hum, or maybe noise from a long cable run.
Ah, so it cleans the signal before it even hits the gain stages and gets amplified.
Exactly. That could be useful even if you're not using super high gain. And for players with really complex rigs, maybe with MIDI switchers and tons of pedals, sometimes they'll use an NS2 near the end of the chain as a sort of master gate, a final cleanup stage to ensure the whole system stays dead quiet when it needs to.
So it's pretty versatile in its placement. Now, thinking about its legacy, this pedal landed in '87. Back then, it wasn't serious noise reduction, mostly found in big, expensive rack units.
Totally. If you wanted really good musical noise reduction before the NS2 came along in pedal form, you were looking at things like Rocktron's Hush systems, or maybe high-end DBX gates, big, expensive rack mount gear.
Stuff most gigging guitarists couldn't easily afford or carry around.
Right. The NS2 basically took that professional level efficiency and squeezed it into a standard compact pedal format. It made truly effective musical noise suppression accessible for the average player building a pedal board. It really set a new expectation.
And its design, particularly that send-return loop concept, clearly influenced what came later.
Hugely influential. Yeah, you can absolutely see its DNA in later popular noise gates like the ISP Decimator or MXR's Smart Gate. They took the core idea and ran with it. But arguably few have quite matched the NS2's specific combination of, simplicity, that analog feel in the decay, and just sheer reliability.
Which is probably why it's still considered the benchmark. And used by so many different kinds of players, right? Not just metal guys.
Oh, yeah. Of course, you see it on boards like Zakk Wylde's or Kirk Hammett's, but also players known for incredible precision and clarity, like John Petrucci or Andy Timmons. They rely on it for that tight, clean foundation.
That definitely speaks to its effectiveness across styles. But, like any gear, it's not magic. We need to talk limitations or maybe complexities. What are the main things users need to be aware of?
Well, the first thing is just taking the time to set it up right.
Yeah.
You really do have to carefully balance that threshold in decay for your specific rig and playing. Just plugging it in and cranking the knobs won't necessarily give you the best results. You might kill your sustain or still let noise through.
So user effort is required.
A little bit, yeah. The second, and this is really important for you, the listener, to grasp, it's a noise suppressor, not an electrical fault fixer.
Right. It doesn't fix bad wiring in the venue.
Exactly. The NS2 is brilliant at handling noise generated by your gear, the hiss from gain stages, pickup buzz amplified, but it cannot eliminate 60-cycle hum caused by bad power, ground loops, or strong radio frequency interference. That's a different problem needing a different solution, like maybe a power conditioner or checking your grounding.
Good distinction. It manages internal noise, not external electrical problems. And finally, there's the buffer question. Like most bias pedals, it uses buffered bypass.
Yes, it does, which is generally a good thing. That buffer helps drive your signal strongly through long cables without losing high-end frequencies.
But
For a very small subset of pedals, particularly some vintage fuzz circuits, they react differently depending on the impedance they see directly from the guitar pickups.
they like that direct high-impedance connection.
Right. Placing the NS2's buffer right before one of those specific fuzzes can slightly alter how the fuzz reacts, maybe make it sound a tiny bit thinner or less aggressive. It's a nuance point, mostly relevant for fuzz purists with very specific vintage gear, but it's worth knowing about. For 99% of setups, the buffer is fine, even beneficial.
Okay, so wrapping it up, the NS2 really does seem like a masterclass in, what did you call it, elegant utility design.
Yeah, I think that fits. It's simple on the surface, incredibly dependable, and highly effective at its core job, providing musical silence. It's a testament to great analog engineering, just lasting.
And it forces you, the player, to kind of prioritize, doesn't it? You're often choosing between that rock-solid silence the NS2 provides and maybe preserving the absolute theoretical 100% untouched interaction between your pickups and, say, a super finicky vintage fuzz.
It's a trade-off, and frankly, most working musicians, especially in loud, high-gain context, will take the reliable silence and utility the NS2 offers every single time.
Which brings us nicely to our final provocative thought for you, the listener, to ponder. We know the NS2 uses a buffer, which is generally great for signal integrity over distance, but technically alters the impedance seen by the next pedal compared to plugging straight in. So the question is, How much are you, as a musician, really willing to compromise that absolute, maybe theoretical transparency, that completely unaltered interaction for the practical, undeniable benefit of reliable musical silence and a strong signal down your cable run? What's the real-world cost of making noise disappear effectively in a live or recording setup? It's a fundamental engineering balance that plays out across your entire pedal board.